What unites the people of Noxus? Power, cruelty, and absolute indifference to other people's suffering. But who is the true master of manipulation and who is just a madman on the battlefield? Today we will rank the Noxus characters by their level of psychopathy according to their lore. We will evaluate the champions according to the following criteria: emotional coldness, how much the character is devoid of compassion; manipulativeness, the ability to use others to achieve their goals; cruelty, willingness to inflict pain without regret. So let us start our rating from those whose psychopathy makes you feel just a little cold to those who turn it into a real art. First in line is Riven. She's a former Noxian soldier whose path went from loyalty to the Empire to complete renunciation. Her story is a search for redemption and a struggle with inner demons. Born in the lands captured by Noxus, Riven was inspired by the Empire's military might from an early age. An orphan, she survived on her own strength, eager to prove herself. In the army, her skills were quickly noticed, and Riven was given a unique magical sword, a symbol of her devotion. During the invasion of Ionia, Riven witnessed the death of her squad, sacrificed for the success of the operation. This moment destroyed her faith in Noxus. Disillusioned and guilt-ridden, she deserted, breaking the sword and going into exile. Riven wandered around Ionia trying to make amends. Her attempts to avoid violence often clashed with her martial nature. She does not justify her past. Instead, she seeks to use her powers for the good of those in need. Riven does not exhibit psychopathic traits. She is capable of remorse, feels compassion, and is ready to atone for her mistakes. Her path is proof that even in Noxus, it is possible to be a person with a conscience. Thus, we place her in the D tier, the minimum level of psychopathy. And Rel has a slightly higher level than Riven. Her story is full of pain, betrayal, and rage. Her fate was shaped by cruel experiments that left scars in her body and soul. Rel was born into a family with a desire for power. Her parents voluntarily handed their daughter over to the hands of the Noxian magicians, the Black Rose organization, to make her a perfect living weapon. The girl was subjected to cruel experiments during which her magical abilities were enhanced by siphoning the power from other children. Each new experiment left scars not only on her body but also in her soul. When Rel learned the truth about her, so to say, training, her rage was boundless. She destroyed the entire academy. After escaping from the academy, Rel, possessing the magic of mental control, became a threat to Noxus, directing her rage against those who built their power on the suffering of others. Her methods of struggle are destruction and violence, and she sees no value in the lives of her enemies. Rel is not without empathy, but her pain and rage make her dangerous and vengeful. She is capable of compassion, especially for those who, like her, have been victimized by the system. But her methods are not sparing to those she considers guilty. Her actions are not dictated by heartlessness, but by deep trauma, which makes her not exactly a psychopath, but an extremely dangerous personality. The second character, who is slightly more psychopathic than Rel in this group, is Cassiopeia. She is the youngest daughter of the ducal house, known for her ambition and cunning. Wanting to strengthen her family's influence, she traveled to Shirima, where a dangerous meeting awaited her. There, in the depths of an ancient tomb, Cassiopeia was bitten by a stone guardian snake, which radically changed her fate. As a result, Cassiopeia lost her human form, becoming a snake-like creature that perfectly reflects her cunning and venomous nature. Now she operates from the shadows, eliminating enemies through intrigue and betrayal, strengthening her family's position by any means necessary. Her ambitions are great, but she acts cautiously, guided by logic and calculation. Her ruthlessness is obvious, but her motives are still quite mundane. And now we go even higher, to B tier, that is medium level of psychopathy, where there are 5 characters at once. But even within this group, we will continue to move along the scale, ranking the characters according to their levels of psychopathy respectfully, from right to left, from less psychopathic to more psychopathic, so to say, in order to understand exactly who is closer to the edge of this dangerous spectrum. The first and the one to open this tier is Darius. This character is the true symbol of Noxus, the embodiment of its power and strength. He leads the army driven by unconditional loyalty to his state. For him, Noxus is not just a place, It is an ideology where the only way to survive and be strong is to conquer the weak and destroy those who threaten the power of the state. His task is to strengthen Noxus, and he is ready to make any sacrifice for this. Darius falls into B tier because despite his cruelty, he acts out of loyalty to Noxus and within the framework of its ideology. His psychopathy lies in his lack of pity for his enemies and his complete detachment from emotions when it comes to serving the ideas of the state. He is cold, logical, and willing to take harsh measures to maintain order, but his actions are aimed at the greatness of Noxus, not at personal enjoyment of destruction. But while Darius acts openly and with ironclad logic, having no doubts about his decisions, Talon uses more covert methods to achieve his goals. His path is that of the shadow, and it is this secrecy that makes him dangerous in his own way. Growing up in a brutal reality where survival depended on the ability to hold a knife in his hand, Talon was trained in the art of killing from childhood. His life was full of brutal and bloody trials, but this is what hardened him. Once in the service of Noxus, he became a personal assassin for the highest-ranking individuals, performing the most dangerous and dirty tasks. Talon deservedly falls into B tier, that is, medium level of psychopathy. He is not as ambitious and ruthless as the higher-ranking characters, but his actions are almost completely devoid of empathy and compassion. Talon is a killer whose main motive is to follow orders and ensure his own survival. His life is defined by his dedication to his work and his unsurpassed skill with the knife. But despite this, he takes no pleasure in the suffering of his victims. He can be cold and calculating, but his cruelty and psychopathic traits do not reach the level of extremes inherent in more dangerous individuals. If Talon acts stealthily and coldly, Katarina is a vivid embodiment of fierce determination, ready to destroy her enemies with no less skill. But unlike Talon, she often acts openly and confidently. Her life is entirely dedicated to serving Noxus, and she strives to become a master assassin to prove her devotion. Katarina has no doubts about her actions, and her goal is complete subjugation and destruction of her enemies, without a sense of pity. She is ruthless and cruel, but her actions are motivated by a loyalty to Noxus, not personal gain. Her psychopathy is manifested in her determination and willingness to destroy her enemies without wasting time on doubts. But the next character, despite being similarly brutal, takes a different path. Samira uses an aggressive fighting style where she enjoys the process of destruction. Her strategy is a mixture of bravery and unnecessary risk, with a complete detachment from fear. She often acts impulsively, which adds an element of unpredictability to her psychopathy. There is no morality in her actions. She simply lives to destroy and enjoy chaos. I think Samira deservedly falls into the rank of medium psychopathy because she is aggressive and violent in nature. But it would seem that she could have been placed higher in the tier, right? But no. Despite her cruelty and tendency to violence, Samira has not reached the level of psychopathy that is characteristic of higher profile characters. Her actions, although dangerous, are primarily aimed at personal satisfaction and risk, rather than strategic destruction or subjugation of others. And also, despite her nature, she cares a lot about her parents, wanting them to be safe. This is what keeps her within B tier. And then we have Draven. But here's the interesting thing. His older brother Darius is in the same tier in terms of psychopathy. But, unlike Draven, Darius is much less psychopathic. This is because Darius has always been on a pedestal, and this has left Draven with a sense of envy and a desire for recognition. He has gained his fame not only through his skill in battle, but also through the pleasure he derives from the fear and pain of his opponents. His motivation lies in vanity, the desire to be better than anyone else and to attract attention, sometimes even at the expense of spectacular cruelty. As the famous gladiator of Noxus, every fight is a chance for him to show his majesty and power, and the death of the enemy is just a necessary part of the show. He does not just kill, he humiliates his opponents, enjoying their fear. Thus, Draven is deservedly ranked as a medium-level psychopath while being close to a high level. And now we move on to the next tier, the next stage, the A tier, where psychopathy reaches its peak. This tier contains individuals whose madness is already partially and sometimes completely out of control. And the first character here is Kled. He has a high level of psychopathy, and all because Kled is known for his aggressiveness, distrust of allies, and absolute loyalty to the Empire, though his concept of loyalty is very peculiar. Kled is the owner of all the lands of Noxus. Well, at least he claims so. Moreover, Kled is always ready to fight, whether with enemies, friends, or even his own thoughts. His psychopathy is manifested in uncontrollable outbursts of rage and a tendency to violence. But unlike other Noxus characters, his motives are not always connected to a thirst for power. He lives for battle and chaos, sincerely enjoying every moment of destruction. What makes Kled particularly dangerous is his unpredictability. Today he can fight side by side with the Noxus army, and tomorrow he can turn on his own comrades if he feels his quote-unquote title or territory is threatened. And of course, we cannot forget about his faithful steed named Skarl, who is both his companion and the object of constant disputes. Their dynamic resembles a chaotic friendship where love coexists with aggression. Kled deservedly occupies a place in A tier. His insanity and uncontrollable aggression make him incredibly dangerous, but his lack of strategic approach and conscious manipulation distinguish him from those in S tier. The next character in this tier is Briar. Briar is the result of the Black Rose's failed experiment, and her existence has become the embodiment of chaos and destruction. In the search for power and strength, the Black Rose created a creature whose bloodlust and destructive instincts were uncontrollable. In order to somehow limit her madness, Briar was chained to a shameful pillar, where her frenzied mind had to be contained. But this imprisoned monster did not submit to confinement. After many years of captivity, she broke free and left chaos in her wake. Briar's main trait is her insatiable thirst for blood, oblivious to distinctions or morality. She kills not only her enemies but also her allies, devouring their bodies, following her instincts and bloodlust. After her escape, she became more excitable and carefree, radiating volatility and childlike naivety. At times, she manages to subdue her hunger, becoming more open to socializing with others. But if her instincts flare up, she does not hesitate to unleash her destructive power and devour anyone in her path. Although Briar shows flashes of self-control and even innocence, her indiscriminate killing and destructive impulses make her one of the most psychopathic characters in Noxus, and her actions frequently defy any moral standards. This mix of chaos, destructiveness, and occasional self-control places her at a high level in the psychopathy ranking. The next character, Scion, is the most aggressive and uncontrollable one on this list. Scion is a nightmare incarnate who literally returned from the dead to sow havoc and destruction. In life, he was a symbol of Noxus's unstoppable might, a general whose victories and ruthlessness defined an era of conquest. His final battle against King Jarvan I became legend. Scion fell, but he took Demacia's monarch with him. However, his story did not end there. The Black Rose, seeking to harness the power of this legendary warrior, resurrected Scion using forbidden magic. But what they brought back was not a hero but a mindless monster. Now Scion is a killing machine driven by bloodlust alone. He feels no pain, knows no fear, and makes no distinction between allies and enemies. Scion has no concept of moral boundaries. His only objective is destruction. He is unstoppable in combat, obliterating anything in his path. Even his own troops cannot always evade his fury. His psychopathy lies in complete loss of control and lack of compassion. Unlike other Noxian characters, he does not plot or manipulate. His path is a merciless head-on assault, leaving no mercy for friends or foes alike. So, while A tier consists of aggressive personalities motivated solely by bloodlust and battle, the S tier, that is very high psychopathy, includes genuine masters of manipulation and cruelty. These individuals do not merely pursue their goals, they will do anything to attain them, turning scheming and betrayal into an art form. Every move they make is meticulously calculated, each word charged with hidden meaning, and their cold, calculating demeanor empowers them to reach the pinnacle of power and destruction unimpeded. And the one who opens this tier as the most quote-unquote moderate in his psychopathy is none other than Vladimir. Vladimir is a terrifying master of forbidden ancient spells. Long ago, he absorbed ancient blood magic, extending his life indefinitely. He is one of the founders of the Black Rose, which has influenced Noxus for years and wields notable sway beyond its borders. However, immortality and blood magic have rendered Vladimir utterly inhuman. He not only exploits others for his own ends, he views them as mere nourishment, a source of power. The notions of pity or attachment are foreign to him, and the only value he acknowledges is his own existence. Vladimir is a consummate narcissist. His self-admiration verges on pathology. His actions are solely dedicated to preserving his position in power, devoid of any morality. He is not as openly destructive as Kled, Briar, or Scion, but his craftiness makes him extraordinarily dangerous. This places him in S tier, on the lower tier among Noxus's most dangerous psychopaths, but in their company nonetheless. And next in line is Mbessa Madara, who definitely deserves her spot in S tier. She's a woman whose ambition and ruthlessness have made House Madara one of the most powerful in Noxus. A true master strategist, she does not hesitate to make brutal decisions to achieve her goals, always putting power and control above everything else. As shown in Arcane, Mbessa's influence stretches far beyond Noxus. Her schemes extend to Piltover and Zaun, where she skillfully pushed her family's agenda, forged political alliances, and solidified economic dominance. Her drive to dominate spans all fronts: military campaigns, political intrigue, and even control over key figures, for example, Caitlyn. So why is she placed after Vladimir? Simple. Mbessa surpasses Vladimir in determination and hunger for power. Mbessa Madara truly embodies the S tier, a place reserved for those whose strength, cunning, and thirst for power are taken to the extreme. And after this hostile-minded woman, we have Swain. He personifies Noxus's strategic mind and unyielding resolve. In his youth, he was an exceptional commander famed for his cruelty and shrewdness, but his life changed drastically after he was betrayed. During a battle, he discovered that Noxus's ruler, in collusion with a Black Rose, had deliberately left him to perish on the battlefield. Gravely wounded, losing an arm, and on the brink of death, Swain miraculously survived, drawing power from the magic of a demon with whom he'd forged a dark pact. Later, upon realizing who was responsible for the treachery, Swain orchestrated a coup d'etat. He mercilessly overthrew the Emperor. Yet, power is not his ultimate objective. Swain believes in the concept of an absolute Noxus, where the strong dominate and the weak submit. He will stop at nothing to bolster the Empire's strength. For instance, he sent Katarina to assassinate King Jarvan III of Demacia, and she successfully executed the order. His choices are motivated strictly by personal ambitions and political aims, utterly devoid of morality. His cold-blooded scheming, total lack of empathy, and willingness to sacrifice put him among Noxus's most hazardous rulers. Nevertheless, even he pales in brutality before LeBlanc, who lurks in the shadows, carrying out her intrigues on an even grimmer scale. She is a deeply enigmatic and sinister figure in Noxus, heading the clandestine organization called Black Rose. Her real name and age are unknown, but one fact stands out. She's a maestro of scheming and manipulation who has existed in the shadows for centuries. Not only has she survived this long, but she has also meddled in the fates of kingdoms, exploiting her enemies' fears and frailties. Through the Black Rose, LeBlanc controls pivotal happenings in Noxus, employing blackmail, magic, and cunning manipulation. She has created living weapons and resurrected abominations like Scion through forbidden spells, all in order to retain power and undercut her foes. Her methods are never direct. She prefers working through proxies, ensuring her name never surfaces. Swain's betrayal, where he was abandoned on the battlefield to die, is just one instance of her subterfuge. Even from the shadows, LeBlanc holds countless threats: Swain politics, war, and the Empire's destiny. Her cruelty is refined. She relishes the slow ruin of her foes, acting so covertly that her victims often realize her involvement too late. LeBlanc rightfully occupies a position in S tier. Her savagery and guile know no boundaries. While Swain's efforts serve to empower Noxus, LeBlanc is motivated purely by her thirst for dominion and authority over the world. She epitomizes a conscience-free manipulator prepared to commit any atrocity to fulfill her ambitions. So, do you think these three are the most dangerous psychopaths in Noxus? Not quite. I decided to give the next character a separate tier called Complete Psychopath, or Tyrant Without Borders. And we're talking about Mordekaiser. Even though at the present time he is ostensibly banished from the material realm, his past deeds left such horrifying marks that his name has become synonymous with boundless cruelty and pitiless might. That is why, in the history of Runeterra, the years of Mordekaiser's reign were called the Age of Tyranny. He was a merciless tyrant in life, and following his resurrection, existing only as iron armor, he continued unleashing havoc, tyranny, and devastation with even greater determination. Mordekaiser and his forces overran the lands, crushing and enslaving anyone who dared resist his supremacy. Entire generations were lost in his barbaric campaigns. Many believed he merely sought to slaughter and devastate, but in truth, he craved more. Beyond subjugating nations, he yearned to acquire every piece of forbidden lore about spirits and death, aiming to unravel the workings of the world beyond life. His ambition was to establish his own dominion of the dead, where he would reign unopposed and the souls of his adversaries would languish eternally. But the tyrant's plan was interrupted by betrayal from within his own ranks. Yet even after his body was destroyed, his spirit continues to haunt Runeterra. His essence remains confined, biding the time to re-emerge in the material world and finalize his conquests. Mordekaiser eclipses every other figure in Noxus. His psychopathy is so vast that he merits a separate tier. He is a being devoid of moral restraints, whose singular goal is total subjugation and the torment of anyone bold enough to oppose him. Mordekaiser is a nightmare beyond comprehension or vindication, a genuine tyrant without limits. Well, that is my rundown of the psychopathic tiers among the champions of Noxus. If you guys disagree or have your own viewpoints on the subject, be sure to leave comments under this video. I'll be happy to chat. I'd also greatly appreciate your support. Do subscribe and give a like. Your involvement motivates me to continue spinning captivating yarns and delighting you guys with fresh videos. Thank you for stopping by my tavern. I do look forward to seeing you guys again and treating you to the best ale in all of Runeterra.